Hello, everybody. I hope you are doing well. Today's video really, I feel like, brought me down a deep rabbit hole, not expecting it. Uh, Initially, I was looking up the term Leviathan. You know, it's referenced in the Bible. It's about a big sea creature, and I had seen this image before of this snake-looking head at the tip here of South America, and it does look like a giant snake head. So I was just putting together a video that I am going to still release, but I just wanted to get this one done first because once I started looking up other things, I couldn't stop. So I'm going to hold off on Leviathan. But in a way, looking this up brought me to looking at this continent here. This giant piece of land covered in ice, So when I look at something like this hypothetical snake, that could have been above land at some point. Even look at the nostrils. Like, these are volcanoes in the nostrils. That's insane. You got eyes. There's a base in this eye, a research station. So that in itself is very interesting, and I will be releasing the video on that soon. But when I was just scrolling down here, I was just looking at this, and I'm like, man, I don't know anything about Antarctica. I really don't. And I remember seeing footage from some guy a long time ago that, he flew to Antarctica. But I never had looked it up. But today, that's the video that we're going to get into. Admiral Byrd, and, the stuff that this came up while I was looking into this, I learned so much, and honestly, I don't think he even made it there. Honestly, I don't know if it's talked about that much. I really know it's not talked about that much, but I hear the opposite. I hear everyone, what he saw was, unexplainable. It's the hollow Earth, or why the Earth is flat. Who knows? Nazi bases. There's a lot of stuff that I want to get into in this video. But man, really happy I came across this, and it was thanks to our giant snake, Leviathan. So we'll get started into General Byrd here and the story of him flying to Antarctica, and just some of the things that go along with it that just really, I was just really surprised. So again, if you guys like this stuff, please hit subscribe, like the video, give me a comment, and we'll get started. Touching back on Leviathan very quickly, in the Bible, particularly in that book of Job, Leviathan is described as a monstrous sea creature, often depicted as a whale or a multi-headed serpent-like beast. Leviathan is a symbol of chaos, power, and might, often representing forces that are beyond human control or understanding. In Job, it's presented as a creature only God can control, highlighting divine power over the chaotic aspects of creation. In Jewish mythology, Leviathan can also symbolize both good and evil, chaos and order. Philosophical context: Thomas Hobbes, in his seminal work Leviathan, uses the term metaphorically to describe the state of the Commonwealth. For Hobbes, Leviathan represents a powerful sovereign or government that maintains order and prevents the war of all against all, a state of nature believed would lead to chaos. Here, Leviathan is the solution to human conflict, a binding force or contract that people agree upon to live in peace. So the reason I wanted to just explain what Leviathan is seen as, just think of those terms and like how it's found right in the tip of, or right in the head of our Antarctica, and also just everything that goes into this video. I just think it's important to just think about what brought us here, and it was Leviathan. Even though there might not be any connection, I think that coincidence of it is pretty interesting. When you think of Antarctica, you don't really think of us ever finding much out of there. A lot of it's kind of fringe or conspiracy theory based. But I just want to touch on a couple of these things that have been found there. You have giant skeleton from or fossil, I guess you could say, from like dinosaurs. There's been a structure that blew people's minds in Antarctica. It's like 400 feet, looks completely man-made. You have eggs from giant sea lizards, and you literally have people finding the oldest fossils ever. It was found in Antarctica, 280 million years old. That itself suggests like that all that ice that wasn't there. Who knows? You go to all these little islands and you look on Google Earth again, or just every island seems to have some people living on it for the most part. And to think a landmass that large has nothing underneath it, it's just it seems so far-fetched. It's so, you cannot say yes or no. Admiral Richard E. Byrd was an American naval officer, aviator, and polar explorer, born on October 25th, 1888, and he died on March 11th, 1957. The flight over the North Pole in 1926. With co-pilot Floyd Bennett, Byrd claimed to have flown over the North Pole, which brought him significant fame, though this claim has been contested with historical evidence suggesting they might not have even reached the exact pole. He did lead multiple expeditions to Antarctica, including Operation High Jump in 1946 and 1947, which was one of the largest expeditions ever mounted to the continent, involving military personnel and equipment. Byrd's explorations contributed significantly to the mapping of Antarctica and the Arctic regions. Some conspiracy theories that have been linked to this flight conducted by Admiral Byrd. One of the most intriguing theories involves Byrd's supposed discovery of the vast unexplored land beyond the Antarctic ice wall, as large as the United States, described as having a temperature climate. This ties into the hollow earth theory, suggesting there's an entrance at the poles leading to the inner world. Theories abound that during Operation High Jump, Byrd encountered remnants of Nazi activities or even a secret base, sometimes linked with occult practices or advanced technology. These theories often blends Byrd's military operations with post-World War II fascination and Nazi secrets in Antarctica. There's a narrative suggesting that Byrd discovered evidence of ancient civilizations or extraterrestrial technologies in Antarctica, which was then covered up by government forces. Some claim his sudden death in 1957 was suspicious, linking it to his supposed findings. Conspiracy theorists often point to the Antarctic Treaty system, established in 1959 as evidence of a cover-up. They argue it was designed to keep explorers away from whatever Byrd might have found, suggesting that all nations agreed to keep these secrets hidden. So Byrd dies in 1957. Some say it's suspicious. Treaty signed 1959. Alleged diaries and interviews have emerged where Byrd supposedly describes flying into the earth or encountering otherworldly beings. These accounts fuel conspiracy theories, although many of these documents' authenticity is debated. Admiral Richard Byrd's family lineage can be traced back to significant historical figures, with one of the most prominent connections being to Colonel William Byrd II, a notable figure in Virginia's early colonial history. Colonel William Byrd II, born 1674 and died in 1744, was a planter and founder of Richmond, Virginia. His diaries provide rich insights into colonial life and society. He was also a member of the Virginia House of Burgesses and the Virginia Governor's Council. His lineage connects to English nobility, intertwining with the social and political fabric of both England and the American colonies. Lineage includes direct descendants from Pocahontas and John Rolfe, making him part of a family with deep roots in American history. This connection expands through various family ties and other notable figures, including presidents and royalty, showcasing the extensive and influential network of his family tree. Richard Evelyn Byrd Jr. Admiral Byrd was born to Richard Evelyn Byrd Sr. and Esther Bowling Flood, connecting him directly to Virginia's colonial aristocrats through his mother's line, which links back to Pocahontas. And just looking at Wikipedia directly, I know Wikipedia can be skewed, I guess. But here's their ancestral coat of arms of the Byrd family. Like, I don't know many families that have a banner, look at this. Operation High Jump, officially titled the United States Navy Antarctic Development Program. This program was conducted between 1946 and 1947. It was a significant operation led by Admiral Byrd, known for Task Force 68. One of the primary objections was to train personnel and test equipment in extreme cold conditions, which was crucial post-World War II as the military aimed to understand the operational capabilities in such environments. Despite public denials, part of the mission involved extending U.S. sovereignty over Antarctic territory, although this was a bit more scientific and strategic positioning rather than overt territorial claims. The operation involved 4,700 men, 13 ships, which included aircraft carrier, and 25 aircrafts. The massive scale was unprecedented for Antarctic exploration at the time, showcasing post-war American naval capabilities. Aircraft from the operation returned with around 49,000 photographs, significantly contributing to the mapping of Antarctica. This aerial reconnaissance provided invaluable data for future expeditions. Operation experienced its first casualty when 3 men died in a crash of the Martin PBM 5 George 1. Raymond E. Gorler. I tried pronouncing this name a few times. I just have a tough time with it for some reason, so I'm going to refer to him as Raymond. He was an archivist who worked extensively with Admiral Byrd's papers at Ohio State University. He's provided significant insights into Byrd's writings, particularly through his editorial work on Byrd's diary and writings related to the polar explorations. Raymond discovered Byrd's handwritten diary during his work cataloging Byrd's papers at Ohio State University. This diary, covering the 1925 to 1927 period, includes Byrd's notes from his claimed flight over the North Pole in 1926. Raymond's introduction to the published version of the diary provides historical context, emphasizing the controversy over whether Byrd actually reached the North Pole. While Raymond's work doesn't delve deep into the direct quotes criticizing Byrd, his presentation of the diary, including navigational calculations and photographs, invites readers access to validity in Byrd's claims. Raymond notes, it's a measure of the enduring fame and Richard Evelyn Byrd that nearly 72 years after he claimed to have been the first man to fly over the North Pole, scholars, navigators, and polar explorers are still arguing over whether he made it. The statistical disputes surrounding Admiral Byrd's flights, particularly his flight over North Pole in 1926, hinge on several points, primarily drawn from analysis of the diary. One of the major points of contention is whether Byrd actually reached the North Pole. According to analysis by researchers like Dennis Rawlins, who examined Byrd's diary, there are inconsistencies in the navigational data. The diary suggests that Byrd and his pilot Floyd Bennett flew about 80% of the distance to the pole but turned back due to an engine oil leak. Whether Byrd's official report claimed they reached the pole, the discrepancy leads to debates over whether Byrd falsifies his reports or whether they are navigational errors or just misinterpretations. Critics argue over the flight times and distances recorded. If one takes the handwritten sextant data as definitive, the flight did not cover the distance to the pole within the time frame provided, given the aircraft's speed. However, supporters of Byrd's achievements suggest a potential tailwind from an anticyclone could explain the faster ground speed, allowing them to cover the distance claimed. The discovery of Byrd's diary provided a direct comparison with his official reports. While the diary gives a more realistic account of what might have occurred, the official narrative was what was presented and celebrated at the time. The disparity invites skepticism about the veracity of Byrd's claims. The oil leak mentioned in the diary as a reason for turning back adds a layer of complexity. Critics might argue this incident supports the diary's version of events over the official claim, suggesting a preemptive turn back rather than a completion of the pole flight. I personally, it's hard to say. Okay, that is such a crazy thing to be doing at the time. Just the fact that he attempted it. There's evidence that the flight was actually conducted. You gotta respect the man. Like, I don't know anyone who would like bash him. It's kind of similar to the moon landing stuff. You know how people will say the footage was destroyed coming back in, so that's why they recreated it, because it's such an achievement. It's like you can't just come back with nothing. So there's that. The Antarctic Treaty System is a comprehensive set of agreements regulating international relations with respect to Antarctica, managing the continent's use for peaceful purposes, scientific research, and environmental protection. Formed during the Cold War, the Antarctic Treaty was initiated due to geopolitical tensions and the potential for conflict over territorial claims in Antarctica. It was signed in 1959 by 12 countries, with the treaty entering into force in 1961. These countries have been active in Antarctica during the International Geophysical Year of 1957 and 58, showcasing a spirit of international scientific cooperation. Known as the Madrid Protocol, it designates Antarctica as a natural reserve devoted to peace and science with strict environmental regulations. All right, so with the Antarctic Treaty in mind, looking at the map, there's actually spots here called Marie Byrd Land. This is an unclaimed territory in West Antarctica, east of the Ross Ice Shelf. It's the largest unclaimed region on Earth. The discovery was named after Marie Ames Byrd, the wife of Richard Byrd. So that's interesting, obviously, but it's not uncommon, explorers to name finds after people they love. But, the Rockefeller Plateau, when you really think about the ATS and like how the fact the Rockefellers have their name on this piece of land, it's pretty interesting. So in Marie Byrd Land, Antarctica, the Rockefeller Plateau forms part of the interior ice plateau east of the Shircase Coast and the Sipple Coast, extending southward of the notable mountain ranges like the Ford Ranges, Flood Ranges, and the Executive Committee Range. Admiral Byrd, during one of his expeditions in 1934, the plateau was named in honor of John D. Rockefeller Jr., who provided financial backing to Byrd's Antarctic explorations. The plateau's surface is predominantly ice, covered with elevations ranging from 1,000 to 1,500 meters above sea level. All right, so this part might not have like super big significance in this, but I thought, when Byrd went on that show, the Longinus Chronoscope, I think that's how you say it. If you haven't seen this interview, I highly recommend go watch it. It's very interesting, even for a timepiece, something historical. It's interesting to see how interviews were conducted. I'm not going to put it in this just for time's sake, but that was created by Alan Cartoon. Alan Cartoon created the concept of that show. It aired like 600 episodes, or it created 600 episodes, and I think 482 are survived today. Like they're archived somewhere. Okay. CBS basically created that show, or they aired it based off Alan Cartoon's idea. Okay, so you have CBS backing this broadcast that Admiral Byrd is telling the world what happened in Antarctica. William S. Paley, he was the one who helped created CBS. So when I clicked on William S. Paley, I just wanted to see who he was. I just was reading, and then I was like, oh, here's his fraternity, Zeta Beta Tau. Seemed like a pretty famous fraternity. So I clicked on that, and this is where you start seeing the names just go back so far where it kind of doesn't really matter. But so Zeta Beta Tau, ZBT, is a men's fraternity founded initially as a Zionist youth society inspired by Richard Goethals at Columbia University, established on December 1898. It had transformed into a fraternity in 1903 named Zeta Beta Tau.
Here are some of the key points about ZBT. Initially focused on Zionism, ZBT evolved over time. In 1954, it amended its constitution to eliminate sectarianism, thus opening memberships to all good men of good character, regardless of religion or ethnicity, making it the first Jewish fraternity to do so. So Richard James Horatio Goethals was an English-American scholar born on October 13, 1862 in Manchester, England, and moved to the United States with his family at age 11. He became notable for his work as a Semitic scholar and involvement in early American Zionist movement. Goethals played a significant role in academia, serving a professor of languages at Columbia University. His contributions extended beyond academics. He was also involved in the founding of Zeta Beta Tau. Gustav Goethals was Richard Goethals' father, a noted rabbi born in 1827 in Pien, Prussia, now Poland. As a prominent figure in Reform Judaism in America, having served as an assistant rabbi at Temple Emmanuel in New York, which was at the time the largest Reform synagogue in the country, Gustav's influence was significant in shaping Richard's scholarly and Zionist inclinations. His involvement in religious leadership and his family move to America laid the groundwork for Richard's later achievements. Before Gustavo now we can go to Solomon Plesner. So Solomon Plesner was a significant figure in the Jewish scholarly and religious community Germany. Born April 23rd, 1797 in now what would be called Wrocław, Poland, Plesner was raised with strong Jewish education, which he continued despite needing to support his family after his father's early death. Early education was influenced by Hebrew and rabbinical traditions under figures like Wesley, reflecting his engagement with both traditional Jewish learning and the broader German culture. 1826, Plesner played a crucial role in defending the study of the Talmud when government considered banning it. His detailed defense, which included historical and scholarly arguments for both Jewish and Christian sources, led to the reversal of the government's decision, highlighting his influence and commitment to the Jewish education. Now, going back even further, now we are to someone who was born in 1725. This name is tough to say. Naphtali, here's Wesley, was a significant figure in the Jewish Enlightenment movement known as the Haskalah. Born in Hamburg, he spent his childhood in Copenhagen, where his father served as a purveyor to the king, which provided him with an environment that mixed traditional Jewish learning with a broader European influence. Wesley studied under Rabbi Jonathan, combining Talmudic studies with modern languages. He collaborated with Moses Mendelssohn on translating the Torah into German, using Hebrew characters, which was part of a broader effort to modernize Jewish education and integrate secular knowledge. This project was instrumental in the development of modern Hebrew as a language for contemporary literature and thought. And I'm giving you these names so you can go do your own research, of course, but man, this started with a guy going to Antarctica, and this is the story of it, really just how it was televised and who decided to televise it. So, all right, everybody. So that was a ton of information. I thought it was extremely interesting as I was going through it. I hope the video will turn out as effective for you. But if you guys have any comments, questions, please comment them below, and please give me a like and subscribe. I'll be releasing the full video on Leviathan a couple days here, maybe even tomorrow. So, yeah, I appreciate all the support. We'll see you next time.